Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Purpose Podcast. I'm your host, Gabe. Today, Josh was in revival at his church. So today I'm flying solo. So please bear with me in this because this might be a little awkward, but hopefully not. Today's today's episode is based on temptation. I decided since Josh wouldn't be with me today that I would just pick a topic, research it, research in the Bible, and just give my insight on it. So before we get into it, I just want to say that you can't run away from temptation. It doesn't matter who you are. We're all human. So don't be discouraged if you are tempted. And don't be discouraged if you fall into temptation because use that as a way in the future, like to grow your faith in Jesus. But the first temptation starts in Genesis 3. And they give background on this. When God created the Garden of Eden and he created Adam, he told Adam to not eat from the tree of knowledge. And but let's just read it and then I'll explain it more afterwards. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So basically, the serpent goes to Eve and talks her into eating from the tree. She knows it's wrong, but the serpent knew what to say to get her to eat. But after she does, Adam soon follows her. You know, you can kind of figure that they had guilt. They felt bad for what they done. This was the first temptation, and it was also the first sin. And it's a sin because they acted upon their temptation, they acted upon their thoughts. Instead of following what God said or what God led them to do, they done the exact opposite. So you can imagine when God returned, they were scared. They were scared what was going to happen. And so they hid from him. So they was ashamed for what they done. And one of the things that I think of whenever I hear this is a time when I was younger. I couldn't tell you what I done, but I got in trouble for whatever reason, and I was body. I get to paddling, and instead of getting the paddling, I would run. I ran to the bathroom, closed the door, locked it, and buried myself in there. I didn't get away from it, by the way. But anyways, the next time I tried it, I ran to the bathroom, I closed the door, I went to lock it, and there wasn't a doorknob. So it doesn't matter. But the purpose of me telling you that is no matter how hard you try to run, no matter how hard you try to hide, punishment's gonna come from no matter from your parents, God, whatever the purpose may be. You can't run from what you did ever. But then we also have to understand desire versus sin. Let me go in the Bible to the verses that I've used for this for my study. I got it from James 1 12 through 15. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil. Neither tempteth he any man, but every man he's tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. So basically, what they're saying here is that when somebody goes through temptation and they don't fall into it, they are blessed. But if you fall into temptation, then it pretty much go down a whole like a domino effect. Like it's gonna go from drawn away of his own lusts and the task, and then lust has conceived, it bring forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bring forth death. If you It is not a sin, again, it's not a sin to have temptation, it's a sin to act upon it. So when you act upon that, it turns into sin, and then Sith event the sin. I don't know why I said Sith, that's like Star Wars, but when it turns into sin, eventually it can turn into death. It's pretty much just saying, in the eyes of the Lord, you are blessed if you don't fall into temptation. And if we build a relationship with Christ, it makes it so much easier for us to block out the temptation from the devil. And one example I really wanted to use was let's just say smoking cigarettes, for example. Okay, it's not a sin to smoke cigarettes, but some may argue that they're bad for you. Okay, it's not a sin, but God says that your body is like a temple. You can give all these different examples. And although, like I said, although it's not a sin to smoke, the Bible also says that your body's like a temple. You got to treat it like one. And I mean, it may not be the healthiest thing. So, but at the same time, for me, I don't smoke, but my temptation is junk food. I can sit there, not want any junk food, but if I see one, I instantly want it. That is temptation. And it's the same way with sodas for me. I'm a big soda person, big like junk food person, bread person, and so I have to learn how if I look at it, I gotta learn not to be tempted by it. Like I need to step away from it or that kind of turn my head or just walk out the room because I know it's bad for me, but it influenced me to want it. And it's what it's supposed to do, but myself, I gotta learn how to eat healthier. And I might I know it's January right now, it's January 15th, and I haven't made a New Year's resolution really besides grow my faith in Christ. So my second New Year's resolution is going to be eating better. I'm sitting there right now, just thought of it here. And that's really just temptation I need to eliminate from my life in general. Temptation can either bring you growth or it can be your downfall. There is no in between. When when you're currently living a certain lifestyle, it there's not a whole lot of temptation because you're already giving consent to your life doing that constantly over and over. You got in a routine, but then you might step back and say, okay, I need to change a little bit. So when you go to change it, that's when you start feeling the temptations like, oh, I really want that, or I miss eating that, I miss doing that. And we have to learn as humans to resist it. And it's hard to do. Like I said, it's hard to do it. It's like it's worldly influences. I mean, it's going to be around you all day long, every day, 24/7, 12 months out of the year, whatever. It's going to be like that. But we have to build our relationship, like I said before, to fight against it. And so now I'm going to talk about Satan's role in temptation. I'm going to go. I'm going to talk about Job, but I'm going to go on a quick summary since we did have a. If you want to learn more about Job, you can go to the last podcast and listen to it. But Satan was looking to tempt somebody on earth, and so God challenged him to try to tempt Job. And God saw Job as a man who was perfect and upright. He was God fearing. He avoided evil at all costs. So he wasn't worried that he would fall into sin because he knew he'd be faithful no matter what. And so he put him through his trials. Like he killed his, I think he tempted 3 times. Satan killed his servants, his livestock. He killed his family. He he made Job like very ill, and his friends were telling him that he must have been acted wickedly because all these bad things were happening to him. His wife even told him to curse God. I mean, think about it. I mean, all everybody in your life is telling you you done bad or you need to curse God. All this stuff is bad happening to you. But through all of the adversity, he kept his faith. That's powerful. It doesn't matter what you believe, what you think. As a human being to do that, that's hard. that's strong-witted, per se. But the next verses that I'm gonna read out of is Matthew 4, 1 through 11. Before we get started, I'm gonna kind of give a background behind these verses. This is when Satan tempted Jesus 3 times. Matthew 4, 1 through 11 reads this. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out the mouth of God. So Jesus fasted 40 days and 40 nights. I mean, you can imagine he was probably starving. Um, he was probably his worldly self was wanting to give up because, I mean, no matter how much perfection he was closest to God, he still had that human aspect in him. He had these temptations, but he always kept true to God. The devil is trying to tempt him here by trying to tell him to make bread out of stone. And this kind of mirrors our physical desires, like eating, drinking, shelter, stuff like that. But Jesus just he stayed on God's plan for him. He didn't fall into it. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city and setteth him on the pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. So in this set of verses, the devil took Jesus to the holy city to test God instead of Jesus trusting him. Jesus believed that he was under God's words, not above it. And so he always stayed obedient to the Lord. And you kind of see that now, you see political leaders, you see actors, even people off the side of the street, they think high and mighty themselves. They think they're the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, they just think they're the best ever. And they they really need to study these and really see how, like Job, and that Job, he was close to a perfect and upright man. He was God fearing. He avoided evil. He through all of his after everything his friends said, he stayed on the path to God. Same as Jesus here when he was getting tempted by Satan. I mean, he stayed on that path because he knew God was the only way. And people these days, they don't see that. They they just want to make it past the worldly life, and they're not thinking about the spiritual life. So now, if you let's say if a disciple was writing a book, like a Bible now, and they go up to somebody, or they're writing about somebody, and it's talking about Satan tempting them. You may not see this. You might see them actually being tempted. They actually go and they get the food, or they get something to drink, or they go and they try to test God instead of following Him. You'll see that more now than you would back then, or really with like Job. You see more people who probably follow him back then because at least back then it was close enough to that. Now, since it's been 2,000 years ago, there are a lot of people they don't believe in this compared to what they did then because actually they witnessed that. So now in 2026, you really need to have faith that this is true, and the faith ain't there no more. Anyways, let's finish these verses real quick. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and sheweth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then says Jesus unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only thou shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. So what happened here is Satan promised Jesus if he kneeled down and worshiped him, he would receive the kingdoms of the world. Think about that. Think about think about now if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, we're starting this we're starting this country. We need somebody to lead it. We want you to do it. But, you have to follow our rules and all, but we want you to do it for it with us or for us." Think about how much power you think you would have then. But God or Jesus knew that God had authority over the devil because he has authority over everybody. He knew that that land was God's land. And he told him that he would only serve the Lord. And the devil left. Think about if we wasn't tempted. What if we didn't listen to temptation? The devil would leave. Hey, this you keep on saying and thoughts keep going in your head. Hey, you need to smoke a cigarette. Hey, you need to drink that beer. Hey, um, you need to kill yourself. Or hey, you need to eat that piece of candy. Hey, you need to drink that soda. But if we never listen, if we stay on our track to God, if we lived our life to get to meet God and Jesus and live with Him, then those thoughts will leave. They will never, or they might linger in your head sometimes, but they won't never take over your life anymore. And that's how we get rid of depression. That's how we get rid of anxiety. That's how we get rid of suicidal thoughts. That's how we get rid of unhealthiness. All this problems can get away if we look to more relationship with Christ. But the moral of the story that um of the study I went through today is that you're going to be tempted constantly from Satan. It's going to be every day, every hour, every second, every year, month, whatever. But we have to keep our faith to win the battle against him. Prayer, looking for guidance to God. All these all these aspects gets us closer to God. It makes our life better. Um, before I go, I'm gonna let y'all know what we're gonna be learning about next week. I haven't really looked at it. That's my fault. But let me find it. Okay. So it's like it might be in Hebrews. It doesn't really say it doesn't really say any verses, so I would tell you what verses to go look at so you might be prepared for the next one, maybe, possibly. But it should be a good one. Josh will be back, so he's he's very knowledgeable of the Bible, so he might it's gonna be interesting no matter what. Both of our opinions, both are different. We might be different some opinions, but that makes it a little more interesting. It gives us more insight, and is all it does is bring us closer to him, and that's all we can do. And that's what we hope with doing this is bringing y'all closer to the Lord while also bringing us closer and learn stuff that we've never learned and learn other people's perspectives because sometimes when we learn other people's perspectives, we think they're crazy or who knows, we might think we're crazy, to be honest with you. But anyways, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to go follow us on Apple Podcasts. And if you listen to Apple Podcasts, make sure you get subscribe on YouTube. And always remember to keep seeking your purpose.